Wild. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Jay.
All right, Thursday Night Football last night, it was the Bills winning decidedly against the Dolphins 31-10. The running game from Buffalo, and then Tua threw 3 interceptions, also got hurt. Another concussion for him, it looks like. Your thoughts on the Bills and Dolphins?
Well, the big story is that Tua not only suffered a head injury, it looked like a very bad one. I'm not an expert, but I've been covering concussion-type syndromes for a long time, and when you get hit like that and you kind of curl up and have your arm in the position his arm was in, that's a terrible sign. That could be incredibly serious. He has a history of serious concussion problems. I really wonder if he should call it a day, call it a career. First of all, he shouldn't have been diving into defenders the way he was. They were behind. He was trying to make kind of a heroic play. Took a nasty hit. I just don't know if he can or will be able to play football anymore with that level of injury. So terrible development there. In terms of football, the Bills have had the Dolphins number for a long time. They've always looked like the tougher team, and they just railroaded them last night. They ran the ball down their throats. They limited their big plays. The Dolphins came into the season with aspirations of a division title, maybe AFC championship game, maybe challenging the Chiefs, and they just didn't look. And the thing is, on any individual play, you look at him and go, "Oh my God, Tyreek Hill, how do you cover that guy? Oh my God, Waddle, A-Chain." Tua had a very good year last year. They looked spectacular in moments, but there was just no cohesiveness. Also, in terms of just football, Tua threw 2 interceptions early, one to a receiver who didn't turn his head in time. One, it looked like he had a miscommunication with the receiver. So when he threw to people other than Waddle and Hill, it looked like they just hadn't practiced together, So everything went wrong for him. But, of course, the most serious thing is Tua's health.
Have we seen players decide to retire due to concussions?
We have seen many players, either because of injuries in general or concussions. There was a real spate a couple of years ago of players just saying, "Nope, I've already gotten one contract. That's enough for me. I'm not going to risk my health anymore." We haven't seen many quarterbacks do it. I don't know if there just aren't as many quarterbacks as people who play other positions. If it's just math, or whether it's because quarterbacks love football or whatever, think they can find a way to manage the hits. But you really haven't seen many quarterbacks retire. But I think he should.
Boy, yeah, and that's the injury he had a couple of years ago, where It looked like he lost consciousness. Do you know if he lost consciousness last night?
Certainly looked like it. They haven't provided a lot of details, but yeah, it looked like he was completely out. And when a player goes down and players on both teams start waiting for medical assistance, it's really it looks like he's completely out.
Jim, the Vikings are going to play the Niners on Sunday. San Francisco hasn't declared what Christian McCaffrey's status is. I suppose today we'll find out what designation he gets. It'll probably be questionable. It seemed like last week that they were not real transparent in regards to his status. What do you think? Should the Vikings expect McCaffrey, or do you think it's going to be Jordan Mason at running back?
I have no way of knowing. I thought he was going to play last week, and he didn't. It sounds like he's dealing with the same things, and they're describing him the same way. This week, we just won't know until an hour and a half before the game. And listen, I play in one fantasy football league with my wife, and we have Jordan Mason, so I'm very interested in this, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, and I suppose that if you're the Niners, you want to try to hold it out as long as possible to see if maybe he can play. And a lot of times, since the game is a noon game, that's different than the Monday night game that we had last week, in that we're going to know an hour ahead of time if he's listed as inactive or not.
Right. Hour and a half, 90 minutes for the game, they make the announcement. And there are 2 reasons for having somebody be questionable and not deciding. One is you're trying to play games with the system and not tell anybody, so they can't game plan for you. The other is you really don't know until he goes on the field and tries it out. It really does sometimes come down to 3 hours for the game. Okay, how's he look? How's he feel? Can he go full speed? And if he can't, then that's when they make the decision.
How about for the Vikings, Jordan Addison? What is his status? Any idea?
I don't think he's going to play. He hasn't practiced this week. It looked like it looked like not a serious injury, but not one that he was going to be able to recover from in a week and actually play well. So I don't expect Addison. Harrison Smith didn't practice yesterday after practicing on Wednesday. They listed him with a hip injury. My guess is that's just an older player needing a day off. We'll see. Van Ginkel came back to practice in a limited way. I would guess he would play. Van Ginkel, Bradbury, Naylor went full practice. Van Ginkel, Bradbury, and O'Neal all were limited. At this moment, I would expect all of them to play.
And certainly they're going to need all hands on deck, especially from a defensive standpoint against what the Niners have, whether it be Jordan Mason or McCaffrey. They still got Deebo Samuel. You still got Ayuk. You got George Kittle, one of the better tight ends. Brock Purdy seems like he's...
Yeah.
Would you say he's better than a game manager?
The 49ers are world beaters on defense. They have talent. They can play defense. But offensively is what really scares you. They have just so many players. They have players who can make big plays at any moment. They can go all the way at any moment, and they have an excellent offensive coach. Purdy is very good at running that offense. He's a very accurate passer. He moves well. I mean, that's the real challenge in the game.
Jim, the Gopher football team is going to play tomorrow against Nevada. We saw Darius Taylor come back. Certainly he makes a difference. And this will be a little bit tougher opponents for them. And Max Brosmer, I guess this is another opportunity to show what he's got.
Yeah, and just to get used to this level of football, although I don't know how, North Carolina was a different level of football. It looked like it took them a half to adjust. Whether Nevada is that big a difference from Rhode Island, we'll see. They're better than Rhode Island. They should be a more functional team than a Rhode Island, but they're not a great team. So this should be an easy Gopher victory. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at the teams Nevada's played so far. They lose to SMU. They beat Troy. They lose to Georgia Southern. I mean, that's, the Gophers should win this by double digits easily.
Jim, the Minnesota Lynx are going to play at home against Chicago tonight. Lynx are looking great. They're in second place in the WNBA. Only a few games left. Getting the 2 or the 3 seed, is that a big difference?
Yes. Well, we don't. You'd want the 2 seed. First of all, Indiana's moved into the 6th position, so they get the 3rd seed. They're playing great right now. You'd rather not have to deal with Caitlin Clark in the first round. You're going to get a lesser team if you get the 2nd seed. Also, you get home court advantage in the 2nd round if you have to play Connecticut in the 2nd round. That's really the big draw, because Connecticut is very good. So last 4 games of the regular season occur in the next 7 days, and 2nd seed is on the line. And as I wrote about today, I think this is Cheryl Reeves' best coaching job. She has a team with one true star performing at basically the same winning percentage in a more talented league than the championship teams did, that had 5 Hall of Famers on the court at the same time. So it's been remarkable. They have to take care of business against Chicago tonight, then at New York, at Connecticut. Those are the 2 biggest games of the season, and then home next Thursday against Los Angeles, and then the playoffs.
The Twins are going to take on Cincinnati tonight, starting a 3-game series. The Twins, got some breaks yesterday. The teams that lost include the Tigers, the Red Sox, the Mariners, teams right behind them in the wild card chase. Cleveland also lost, so they gain a half game on them. Cincinnati looks like they're one of those teams that they've got a lot of young talent. What are your thoughts on this series?
They do have talent. Ellie De La Cruz is a great base stealer, has some pop, 23 homers, 64 home runs. That's a lot of fun to watch. He's a very flamboyant player. They've had a lot of injuries. They had a disappointing season. Twins have a definite advantage in the pitching matchup tonight, Ober against Aguiar. Then, Simeon Woods Richardson Saturday, then Festa on Sunday. They should win this series. It's hard to sweep. I know everybody wants to sweep, but it's hard to sweep anybody. They should win this series, and if they win series the rest of the way out, they'll be in the playoffs.
So Byron Buxton's going to be activated tonight?
Yes, he'll be activated, and that should immediately improve their defense and base running. And, sometimes Byron takes a while to get his bat going after he's been on the injured list. We'll see how ready he is that tonight.
How about Correa? Any idea when he might be back?
He's talking more optimistically now than he has since the injury occurred. He's taking live batting practice every day. He looks like he's getting close. I would guess, it doesn't do us any good to guess on injuries, but if I had to guess, I would think middle of next week might be the right time.
As far as where the Twins are positioning right now, you look at where they're at in the standings. I mean, they're still, 3.5 game lead on Detroit. And I think you mentioned yesterday that Detroit was a team that there wasn't really expectations, and 3 games above 500 for them with 4 of the 5 teams in the division above 500. That's pretty amazing.
The division, last year, what did we hear just all year? Oh, they're in a terrible division. They're a terrible division. They're one of the best divisions in baseball right now. Cleveland is playing as well as anybody. Kansas City is the best young team in baseball. The Tigers, you had the sense that they were putting things together the last few years. They hired a really good manager. Skubal is a great pitcher. They have some young talent. You felt like they were kind of on the same path as the Royals. The Royals got there first. But now, the Tigers are playing really well. They seem to have figured it out. So you have 4 teams over 500 in the division. The White Sox are terrible, of course. But this is a very good division.
Jim, what are your thoughts on the Twins cutting a minor league catcher, Derek Bender, for tipping pitches?
Well, you have to do it. He was a kind of a hothead. The minor leagues, there's a video clip of him out there. They made him a 6th-round draft pick. There's a video clip of him out there hitting a game-winning homer in college and turning and confronting the catcher before he ran the bases. So he had a little bit of that going on. The rumor is that he was sick of playing minor league baseball this year. He wanted the season to be over, so he's tipping pitches so his team would lose. You can't have it, so they cut him.
Makes sense. All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcasts?
Pretty much the full slate is up now. Don Mitchell with Howard Megdal, a big mover and shaker in the world of women's sports coverage. That's up. We have Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider with the former Vikings general manager with Viking Update show up. John Krasinski on the Wolves. Lavelle, Roy Small, and myself on the Twins on the Chin Music Show. Michael Russo on hockey. Kevin Gorg on hockey. Mike Grimm on the Gophers. Randy Shaver's high school football show. John Millay on preps. Outdoor content at talknorth.com or your favorite podcast app.
All right, Jim, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Great. Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune or his podcasts at talknorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Next on WJON, world and national news from ABC, and that's brought to you by Executive Express.